Good evening to everyone. Thank you for your warm welcome. I am not going to be butting tonight. Those days are gone. I'm an old woman now. Old fowl, tail feathers falling out. But it ain't stopping me talking tonight. I am so delighted to be on a Barbados Labour Party platform again. But I am most of all happy to see a platform where women put their points of view. Tonight, this is a woman's platform. Tonight, we are uplifting Toni Moore before you, and I welcome the opportunity to be a part of helping her to join the other women who are already members of Parliament, and you see the fire. So she will be more than well tutored. Tonight is special for me for other reasons as well. First, my father, Freddie Miller, represented the parish. In those days, it was all one parish, no north and south, for 18 unbroken years between 1948 and 1966. He was a Combamarian. I have looked at Toni Moore's CV, and I see that she also is a Combamarian. So I am hoping that she will do like my dad. 18 unbroken years. She's a younger woman. So she could double that. That would make it how many? 36 years? Well, I spent 32. So that is one of the most important reasons why I'm speaking tonight. It is also special because in my time I was, I think Santia made this point, sitting in the Parliament of 1976 and the first woman to sit in the cabinet. But it was 18 years before I saw two other women take their seats in the House of Assembly. There were Mia Amor Motley and Elizabeth Thompson. And it was a very moving moment for me because I knew then that many more women would be bringing gender balance in the years ahead. And I was correct in my judgment. I see them performing so well tonight. As the Minister of Health and Wellness would have put it, there's not going to be any surrender. There's not going to be any retreat. The only way now for the women of the BLP on the platform is forward. On the 11th of November, 2020, this young woman, Toni Moore, with your votes, must join the other women who now sit in the House of Assembly. It will help to improve the gender balance there. In this connection, I wish to say special words to our Prime Minister, Mia Amor Motley. In all of my 32 years in Parliament, it was a deep disappointment to me time and again that the women of the Caribbean who became Prime Ministers, people like the late Eugenia Charles, the lady from Jamaica, yes, they did not put women in their parliaments into their cabinets. Now, I retired from Parliament in 2008, and I notice now that women who are becoming prime ministers are doing that. But it pleases me very greatly, and it did, when the Prime Minister Motley saw fit to put all of the women in our House of Assembly, not only in the cabinet, there was one who is now the chairman of committees. That is one of the most important committees in our Parliament. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are living in very perilous and challenging times. The women in the cabinet of Barbados are dedicated and hardworking. You could hear and sense that tonight. These are not play women. This is the real thing. They're bright, they're not afraid of anybody, and they understand where the Labour Party wants to take Barbados in what is now 21st century, postmodern world. And it pleased me very greatly, as I said, that Prime Minister Motley saw fit to put all of the women in our House of Assembly in her cabinet. Toni Moore will bring her broad experience in the Labour movement to the floor of the House of Assembly. I read her CV very carefully. I hope to see gender equity one day, soon. Women are half of the population of the world. They bring their own perspective to the quality of democracy and the development process. Without women's point of view, whatever the subject matter, the whole will be impoverished. Whatever else you do in Parliament, you are doubly tasked to bring your women's perspective to all issues. There are no men's issues and women's issues. To all issues, these Barbados Labour Party women in the Parliament can speak with authority. Ladies and gentlemen, as women parliamentarians, this is their task and their remit. Whatever else you do in Parliament, you are doubly tasked to bring your women's perspective to all issues. Whatever else you do in Parliament, you are doubly tasked to bring your women's perspective to all issues. I repeat it. Be mindful that though important numbers by themselves are not enough, women are duty-bound to bring transformational leadership to the participation in politics and decision-making. You heard Santia Bradshaw just now. You could see a man arguing them points with her. This will require sustained capacity development, public sensitization, and I sense it here tonight, and initiatives aimed at cultural change within parliaments, within political parties, and ladies and gentlemen, the general public. The more women get elected to Parliament, the more women will be elected to Parliament. Every woman who is elected raises the consciousness and the confidence of other women. Women are a high return investment which yields great dividends. Now, I would like to say just a few words, because I've been asked, to the work that my father did in St. George, which was the whole parish in his time. If he sometimes took us as children for a drive after Sunday school, it was always via St. George. In fact, once we were going anywhere with him, it was always via St. George. So we got to know his chief canvassers in particular. I came in tonight through here, and I looked up and saw that this was Charrow Bridge in the days when Harry Cox was the chief canvasser in this part of St. George. His daughter Audrey was a friend. Sometimes, if my father was taking us anywhere, and particularly myself because I was the eldest, he would, if there were young children in the house of one of the chief canvassers, he would leave me there and we would play. So I had my share of that. I can even remember the names of some of them. Dola Jordan in St. Helens, Daisy in the Glebe, Braff at the Reservoir, Alfred and Granny in Greens, Gowdy, the Dottings in St. Luke's, so many more. Many of them have passed on. My father was Minister of Health and Social Services from 1956 to 61. In the general election of 61, I think that he was the first to put out a booklet of what he had done for the parish. I think, the only copy left. It is fairly tattered, But he was the first person to do this. We all do this nowadays, to tell the people in our constituencies all the work we've done, photographs, and so on. But there was so much that he did here for the people in the constituency of St. George. He put the first health centers across the island, and also put outpost clinics, one of which was located right here at the Glebe. He had sport in his portfolio. Floppy Williams was the full-time sports officer, and the then Everton Weeks was given the job of chief coach, all of the schools in Barbados. When the one in St. George, the community center, he put at least one playing field or a community center in every single parish. He put public baths at Greens and South District. And when he was making his speech at the opening, he said that he hoped that all those public baths would be disappeared. They would have been replaced by indoor plumbing in his lifetime. The newspaper reporter who was reporting on what was going on in the meeting couldn't understand what he was talking about. But he was very clear in his mind, because indeed in his lifetime, all of those communal baths disappeared and everybody had indoor plumbing and electricity in their houses. I asked Prime Minister Tom Adams for permission to convert the one at the 8th Avenue in the New Orleans in the city of Bridgetown, to convert it into a clubhouse for those playing table tennis and other such games, and he gave his permission. I remember the first public telephone box was located in Ellerton. I think Ellerton, in a way, might have been his favorite. In his times, roads were laid all over St. George, street lights, other amenities, and so on, which people needed, but they particularly wanted water at home and electricity. He put schools, visual and dental clinics all across the island. Of course, the high point of his ministry was the building of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. He visited the site every day. But since his time, St. George, under Barbados Labour Party governments, was modernized in several ways, too many of which were allowed to fall into disrepair over the years. Although St. George is still rural, in many lovely ways, I see beautiful housing estates, gardens. We have seen the urbanization all over this parish with modern roads, business locations, much improved government housing, and decent bus service. The Glebe Polyclinic is modern, well-equipped with its welfare department on site. But during the last 10 years, I think there were too many neglected roads and lack of street lighting. Tony Moore will make the correction of those services, or the lack thereof, which have been allowed to run down, and will install more modern amenities as well. Now I want her and these other young women too to understand, being a member of Parliament is hard, unrelenting, but always gratifying work, which requires the justification of one's political existence every single day. You can't put it off for another day. There is always more work that you have to get in that day. What better cause, comrades, to offer your passion and commitment to than that of improving the quality of lives and the building of communities? That's all I ever wanted to do, and I did get to do it. There is always a great deal that remains to be done. We may not be expected to complete the task in our time, but ladies and gentlemen, and remember this part, neither are we at liberty to abstain from it. It may outlive you, you may outlive it, but That is the work that you will do. During the last 10 years, there were too many neglected roads and lack of street lighting. Tony Moore will take and make correction of those services which have been allowed to run down, and will install more modern amenities as well. So I would wish now to welcome her to, I don't know if she's coming up at this point. Is she coming up at this point? Yes. I would want to welcome her to what is the platform where she will tell you about the work which she sees already cut out for herself. There's one interesting thing. I read her CV. I'm getting old now. I don't think I told you this. Yes, but in her CV, I saw that she was a combomarium. I told you that? Old age now. But it's important. Yes, I said that up front. But I thank you all for the pleasure of having these exchanges with you. And ladies and gentlemen, remember on the 11th of November, we are not like a certain gentleman in a certain other country who doesn't know how to behave himself as he sees election day approaching. In Barbados, we know how to do our business. And everybody will get up early, go to the polling station, make their X for Tony Moore, and then you will go home, and if you see some loitering, encourage them to get into the polling station and vote as soon as possible and stop loitering on the road. That is what we need. That is what we need. So, ladies and gentlemen, it really has been a pleasure to be back on a platform tonight. I didn't think this would happen to me again in my old age, but it was a pleasure to be here, to see you, and to talk to you about these issues. Thank you and good night.